Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another rendition of Christmas Movie Fridays. This one, oddly enough, is going to be a quadruple feature. I'm not going to be talking about like up to 4 Christmas movies. Far from it. I do have my main Christmas movie right here, as it says in the title. But I'm presenting here today a couple of bonus episodes, just because I want to be able to reduce down the flow of these videos and at least get the reviews out, especially seeing how around this weekend the Disaster Artist is coming out. And trust me when I say it, the review will come out. But with that in mind, the first 3 specials we're going to take a look at are ones relating to Nickelodeon. Ones in particular I picked out, and you could probably tell your past self this, is Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, and As Told by Ginger. So, if we will, ladies and gentlemen, let's flip back to past self and see what's going on. Hello, past self. Oh, thank you, future self. I never expected that to happen. But with that in mind, let's talk about a little bit of something that I never thought I'd discuss in a long time, but also something very interesting that came up to mind. As he said, I picked 3 of these Nicktoons that I'm going to discuss here today that, honestly, at least the current one that I'm talking about right now is Arnold's Christmas from Hey Arnold. Now, I never grew up with a lot of Hey Arnold as a kid when I saw it on Nickelodeon. I believe that I think there were still new episodes at the time, or maybe they were airing repeats. I can't remember. But I definitely knew at the time that Nicktoons Network didn't exist until sometime later in the future. At least on, like, the big major providers. But getting off topic here. Arnold's Christmas is the first Christmas special from the said series. But also, apparently, by the time I'm recording this, which is apparently December 7th, 2017, and it will be released on the 8th, freakily enough, the episode was released on December 14th. 1 week from when I'm recording this. Freaky. But with that in mind, let's talk about Arnold's Christmas and see why at least that this is probably one of the more deeper specials. I remember people, like, here and there talking about how good Hey Arnold was, and maybe sometime down the line I'll probably look into that in the future, probably maybe select it as one of my shows to watch next year. But let's check the plot for Arnold's Christmas. In the special, Arnold is chosen to help out Mr. Wynn during Christmas time for a gift. The gift is that his daughter, born in Vietnam, was caught in the crossfire as he allowed the U.S. to take his daughter somewhere safe. And he expected to try and find her somewhere down the future after the war. But after years and years, it never happened. And Mr. Wynn is haunted by the mindset of what happened during that war and the fear that he may never see her daughter again. Already off the bat, that is deep, man. That is so deep. But I never expected this out of a special. I mean, sure, it's all like fun and happiness and all that. But there were a few select specials that actually dare to show just how deep it is. Because outside of Christmas being a time for, like, magical, fictionalized characters, being with family, like, believing in Santa Claus, it's also actually a time where even lost relatives can be together. It's quite interesting,
Something I never expected out of something as simple as Hey Arnold. I mean, I just I just don't know where to begin with this. It's just wow. So basically, it's up to Arnold and his best friend Gerald. Was it Gerald? Yeah, Gerald. I need to start remembering these names. So basically, it's up to Arnold and Gerald to basically figure out where his daughter has gone off to, as they wind up finding a federal building and asking probably the grouchiest agent that's right there to that refuses to help them in their search for Mr. Wynn's holiday gift. And one thing that at least he assigns them to is that he's got to get both of them has to get everything that his family wants for Christmas, especially one like basically sold out all over the town snow boots that are all over the advertisements and everything. Meanwhile, Helga, who's had a secret crush on Arnold since, I don't know, the beginning of the show, has essentially started, sort of trying to figure out what Arnold would want for Christmas. As time goes on, it turns out that Helga has been secretly spying on her and winds up accidentally getting the little list of what Gerald and Arnold have to get for the agent. But unfortunately, the agent is a little ticked off because they just missed one little item. One little item, but it's completely sold out in every area. Like, you have to be on a wait list or a pre-order to get these boots. In the long end, Helga winds up getting the boots that she wanted for Christmas, but after thinking for a while and actually finding out that the one reason that Arnold and Gerald were out shopping was because of the agent. In that deal, the agent would have helped them out. And what happens is that Helga winds up traveling to the agent's building and basically somewhat telling him that it's for a friend, and that even with family, at least from what I gathered, that even people who miss their families miss out on a lot. In return, Helga helps the agent find Mr. Wynn's daughter, and it hits Christmas Day, and in the end, it feels like Mr. Wynn's not going to see his daughter again. However, a Christmas miracle happened as his daughter appears on her front door, and they're both reunited in the end. And it's all thanks to Helga. So, I guess with that in mind, Arnold's Christmas. This is a deep episode. I mean, off the bat, I probably was going to expect something out of it. I mean, the story of Christmas miracles and reuniting family, all that. But honestly, after looking at this, I feel like I actually want to watch the show now. The show is actually this deep and complex, and even the characters can be relatable. Then clearly, this must be a show worth watching. So, I guess with that in mind, if there's anything on the football head scale that I gotta give for Arnold's Christmas, honestly, I'd have to give Arnold's Christmas here 5 out of 5 football heads. This I mean, this is probably one of the best Christmas episodes that Hey Arnold has ever produced. Even if it was, even if it was just one special. It's deep, it's emotional, and even bringing in the meaning that Christmas is also a time for bringing others together. That is how deep Christmas is. And I absolutely love it. With that in mind, let us flip over to Past Self here as we discuss yet another Nicktoon here. So, joining me live via the desk office of the Ferb Guy Pictures is my Past Self. Hello, Past Self. Okay, then. I guess this is a past report within a past report, or... I'm not going to go into details about this. Let's talk about A Very Cat Dog Christmas. Cat Dog was one show that, again, much like Hey Arnold, I partially remembered watching. There were probably like 3 or so episodes I remembered like seeing on Nicktoons Network as they were airing it. But pretty much that's all I can remember out of Cat Dog. Much like Hey Arnold, this is going to be probably another show to add to my hit list of shows to watch. But with that in mind, let's get started with A Very Cat Dog Christmas. And what happens in this special is both cat and dog celebrate their usual traditional holiday, where they have the split double tree, and they have their little stars that they put up, and even their little gift exchange, and even riding down to the department store where they meet up with the department store Santa, played by Brian Doyle Murray, relative to Bill Murray, if I remember it correctly. In it, both cat and dog wish their respected wishes towards Santa. However, the one thing that they remember, but the one thing that Cat really wants is a sports vehicle. He wants a sports car, and the daughter of the mayor of the village they live in Cat Dog, which I can't even remember what their name is. Can't even remember the name, but must be here. Rancid. That's the name of the mayor of the whole town. But it's interesting that they named somebody Rancid. I mean, when you name a kid that, aren't you expecting them to turn out like this? But anyways, Rancid is there in the department store with his niece, Rancine. Again, who names their daughter Rancine? But I wouldn't be surprised. There is like a Disney show that names their daughter Pistol. Anyways, Rancine wants to buy out Cat Dog, which gets the both of them thinking, is this true? Is this possible? Is this even a thing? Would it be even worth it? In the end, they both wind up making a deal with Rancid that they'd be with Rancine forever. However, this ticks off Santa Claus, especially seeing as how Dog's like the one that has the full Christmas spirit. As we apparently find out that Brian Doyle Murray Santa is actually the real Santa Claus. Who would expect, right? And in the end, he winds up basically canceling Christmas for all of the city. I can't even remember what their city location is. Never mind. What happens afterwards is that Christmas is canceled entirely and the whole town's upset about it, and they're trying to find Cat Dog. and get them to pay for what they have done. And as they're playing with Rancid and so on, it turns out that possibly it's boring to... At least they miss their traditions and everything they used to do as brother and brother. What they do is that they escape out of Rancid's home and return back to their Bonefish home? I never really figured out what the inspiration is for the cat dog house. But in the end, they wind up returning to the house only to find the Greasers and Winslow and even some of their friends as they're literally about to hang them for the crimes they have committed by canceling Christmas. But in the end, Cat Dog manages to find a way past all of this, and what happens in the progress is they wind up setting up at least another version of their Christmas tradition, which winds up bringing forth the attention of Santa as their holiday continues onwards and they celebrate. They wind up giving each other their gifts, and even a dog gets a bar of soap as a present. I can't help but think of nostalgic when seeing that. Like one of the lines from Inspector Gadget Saves Christmas where he's like, "You are all getting soap for dinner!" I can't stop thinking of that line, seeing dog with soap. But that's the special, as it ends with both cat and dog winding up in Santa's sleigh, guiding him during Christmas time. So, Very Cat Dog Christmas. It's about as a goofy comedy as you can get. But honestly, comedies have no consistency. They may not acknowledge what happened in previous episodes or something like that. But there are some extents that partially they will. But it depends on the show. I know My Little Pony has a couple of flaws with it, especially with there being so many writers on the show. They don't pay attention to what happened in the past episodes or anything like that and try to follow it up or anything. But anyways, Very Cat Dog Christmas, commonly mistaken as Very Merry Cat Dog Christmas. But what do I think of the special overall? For the most part, I do like Cat Dog. Or at least in particular, this special is something that at least it's worthy of remembering. At least from a comedy standpoint. Despite the fact that Cat Dog would be on my list of a show to watch during next year or sometime in the future, I don't know if that's going to happen immediately. But if I ever do get around to watching Cat Dog, probably after I finish up with Third Rock from the Sun, I don't know. But in all honesty, this is a very worthy special. If you ever get a chance to take a look at it, well, may not be up your alley, but it's kind of a mixture of recommended and not. So, it'll be mixed between everyone. But as for me, I'm glad I'm basically watched all of these specials because I can now add them to my list and remember, like, what show to watch. However, we got one more Nickelodeon special to take a look at. Now, I maybe, or at least my other reporter friend here that's reporting outside of the Ferb Guide Pictures studio desk may be bringing this report. He may be jumping the gun and watching a later episode, especially seeing as how As Told by Ginger is basically a full continuity situation on hand. But I guess with that in mind, let's see what he has to say about As Told by Ginger. So, what do you think of it? Are they just going for an inception right now? How many pairs so far of me are there? Jeez! Anyways, let's talk about As Told by Ginger. Now, I'm pretty sure that the smallest amount of people even know that this show exists. The same can be said for me. But the only reason I somehow remember this show was the theme song, as any Nicktoon would end like SpongeBob or Jimmy Neutron or whatever. For the most part, I'd always see the intro for As Told by Ginger, but I never got around to watching it whatsoever. The past has made me ponder whether or not I should watch it or not. But as it turns out, it looks like that essentially, As Told by Ginger, at least in recent time, has come back into mind. But also to some extent, this is like the one special that was interesting. But I think this is the only special that this show has. It's kind of hard to say because, obviously, I have not watched the show before and this is my first time. But also, to another extent, is that many of the reviewers who talked about As Told by Ginger, you can see many of the articles around on YouTube or Google it or something like that. But many people have said that there's some consistency, like all the episodes are partially tied in together. It's not like the episodes are one off in each other and they don't talk about it again. There's ties to every episode, and they explain there's some sort of like story progression with this show and all of that. So I figured today we talk about As Told by Ginger, an Even Steven holiday special. Since this is my first time talking about something from a show I've not watched before, this will be a tricky challenge. Seeing as how I never grew up with As Told by Ginger and only knew little about it. Anyways, let's talk about it. During the special, Ginger discovers that she is 1/4 Jewish, as she suddenly starts getting wrapped up in Hanukkah and forgetting about Christmas. Ginger's friends feel betrayed that Ginger is focusing more on Hanukkah than on Christmas, which gets her friends very disappointed in Ginger that she's doing it, especially in front of her, or I should say in front of them. What happens is Ginger gets a little bit too caught up in Hanukkah and forgets about Christmas, and she decides to set up this sorta kinda half Hanukkah, half Christmas party type of deal. Which, meanwhile, Hoodsie finds out that Carl, which is one of the family members of Ginger, does not believe in Santa whatsoever. Hoodsie is a big believer in Santa, and for the most part, Hootsie tries to figure out why they don't, or at least why he doesn't believe in Santa. But as Hootsie's walking along and hanging out with Carl, he finds out that, oddly enough, that the Santa that he talks to is actually, believe it or not, is Jonas, which is, coincidentally enough, the father in the show. And from what I hear, you don't see the father much in the show. I mean, the mother and the father are completely divorced, and you never see that in any of the episodes, from at least from what I could gather. I don't know. But anyways, with that in mind, let's talk about at least how this special is presented. Now, of course, as I have not seen As Told by Ginger as of the time of this video's release, I think for the most part I am probably going to take a look at As Told by Ginger. It looks fascinating enough. It's something I may be able to get behind, and I probably may start watching it by, let's say, the beginning of the year, or end of this year, to say the very least. So I guess with that in mind, this most likely is a worthy starter of As Told by Ginger. Despite the fact I have not seen the show much, or at least I'd never watched this show at all, this could be an interesting opportunity. Because, as I've said, this show has surfaced all over the internet as people are talking about this show as if it were like the Last Supper. But anyways, if I get around to doing As Told by Ginger and watching it, I'd say, depending on how I feel about the series, it could be probably one of my new favorites. Who knows? But how can you top off, at least the ones I can name off the top of my head that are number 2 and number 1 on my TV show list? Spoilers. How can it top off Daria and Avatar: The Last Airbender? I'll just have to find out next year. So, let's, anyways, bring it back from the previous 2 past selves and see if we can finally get back to how the video is supposed to turn out with our main feature presentation, Office Christmas Party. So, future self, which is currently the present, have you watched Office Christmas Party yet?
Oh good, we're back. Hopefully the past selves, times 3, have helped out with some of the Christmas specials. But here we go, the main event, Office Christmas Party for this week's Christmas Movie Fridays. Recently, this one is now available on Showtime to watch, because apparently this is a DreamWorks film, so apparently live-action DreamWorks now has to go through Showtime, not the other way around with Amazon Video, with Paramount. But here's the gist of it. Josh Parker, who's a Chief Technical Officer of the Chicago branch of Xenotech, and his branch manager, Clay, played by T.J. Miller, decide to one night host a massive Christmas party at their facility. However, the CEO, played by Jennifer Aniston, basically does not want to have a Christmas party happen at their branch. But of course, they don't listen, as during the night, they party like there's no tomorrow. Insane how this story goes, but it's quite fascinating just how this movie was even made to begin with. I mean, although despite the negative reviews that the film has garnered, this was actually one I was sort of kind of interested in taking a look at, but wasn't sure if I'd enjoy it or not. It's a simple premise, but there's so much insaneness that goes on during this movie that, honestly, I'm not sure if I'm able to fill up the video with many of the teeny tiny little moments that happen throughout this pick. I mean, for Pete's sake, have you looked at the timer here? It'll be around nearly 30 minutes long if I banter on a little further. But let's just say that the party goes insane. T.J. Miller winds up getting himself in a situation with some people as he plans to jump one of the bridges of Chicago, but is stopped in the process as the internet gets shut off for the whole place. But thankfully, Xenotech winds up going in and saving the day, and from that point, they decide to party on. That's really all that there is to it with this movie. Nothing really much to shout home about, nothing that can scream home run or anything like that. It's a simple film. But really, I have nothing else to say about this movie except it's a standard R-rated film. Nothing more, nothing less. But with that in mind, I guess that'll do it for this week's Christmas Movie Friday. Sorry the video dragged out for a little long. It's just, I had a lot of busy things to do today, and again, the video's long enough as it is, so I'm just going to cut it short. So, for the past today, I actually found a lot of great stuff here. I mean, the Nick specials, by Jove, those Nick specials are really good. Plus, Christmas Party's a little average, but it'd probably be better if I were drunk. That is, if I ever do drink, that is. But anyways, that'll do it for this week's Christmas Movie Fridays. Stay tuned next week as we take a look at the next installment in the Home Alone franchise. So, see you guys back here next week for the new video. So, bye.